So we got some Hebrew readers, right? We're gonna need some of those today.
They're all online.
They online?
Hey, I stayed on there for good.
Don't worry, it's not gonna be bad. I promise you. There we go. I'm good. All right, hallelujah. All right, so at part 32 of 50, and we're going to stop it at 32 of 50. Remain to be next year.
Oh my God.
Y'all willing?
Don't say that.
Yeah, y'all willing. Hallelujah. All right. So in his image starts with, well, within you, right? Does everyone agree that it starts within you? All right, great. So I guess I'll stay on this side since the pointer is over here. All right, so this is the things we're going to talk about today. All right, so the Ruach is the transforming agent for Yahuah. Okay, so we will discuss the many hats that the Ruach plays in the scriptures and writings. We will talk about how to properly align ourselves with his word, and we will go over conditions necessary to be in his kingdom. Okay, you're going to see how all that plays out today. So I wanted to use a little bit of opportunity for the Hebrew, since everyone's preparing for the Hebrew class, so everyone could learn a little bit. Prayerfully, you guys didn't lose none of it. Absolutely. Rules, okay, that will be discussed for all lessons. Rules, please, bivachasha, please keep your mic muted, except when asking or answering a question. Use the mic to speak. There is a feature in the room where you can raise your hand if you have a question. All questions must be on the topic. You have 60 seconds to ask or answer a question. If you pass your 60-second window, your mic will be muted for you. These rules are due to time and the recordings of the lessons. These are live teachings. We must give the Moreh enough time to complete the lesson. This will be a mix with discussions to help build one another. Please do not abuse the time. All right, so we're going to get right into it. Remember, we were leading up to last week about the Ruach, or the Spirit, right? So now we're going to go into a little bit more in Ezekiel 36:33 through 36. And it says, thus saith Adonai Yahuah, in the day which I shall have cleansed you from all your iniquities, I will also cause you to dwell in the cities, and the waste places shall be built, and the desolate land shall be tilled, whereas it lays desolate in the sight of all that pass by. And they shall say, this land that was desolate is become like Gan Eden, like the Garden of Eden, okay? And the waste and the desolate places and ruined cities are become fenced and are inhabited. Then the heathens, or the Gentiles, or the nations that are left round about you shall know that Adonai Yahuah build the ruined places and plant that which desolate. Adonai Yahuah, or Slika, Ani Yahuah, I am Yahuah, have spoken it, and I will do it. Now, I don't know if you guys seen pictures of Israel. They got some nice places, right? But they still got some desert places, right? So you can imagine, at some point, imagine all of that are guarded, right? So that's what we're going to see a little bit here. So we'll just open up what that looks like, what it might look like, and then we're going to focus on us, and then we'll come back to the garden at the end, all right? I know all of us want to get into that garden and get to that tree and everything like that, but we don't want to do that with no dirty hands. All right. Yeshayahu Isaiah 51:3 says, for Yahuah shall comfort Zion. He will comfort all her waste places, and he will make her wilderness like Eden, like a garden, and her desert like Eden, or like the garden of Yahuah. Joy and gladness shall be found therein, thanksgiving and the voice of melody. So you can imagine in this time, there's going to be, what do you mean melody? What's going to happen during that time period? Okay, there's going to be some singing, right? Well, we'll see. We're going to see if there's going to be some singing. Do y'all believe that there's going to be singing in the garden in paradise? Yeah? All right. So that's what, well, this is why they're saving. I can see now what's happening. They're saving it for that day. Okay. Don't wait too long. All right. All right, so Joel says, blow you the trumpet in Sion, and sound an alarm in my Kodesh mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahuah comes, for it is nigh at hand. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and a thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains. A great people and a strong, there has not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. A fire devours before them, and behind them a flame burns. The land is as Garden of Eden, before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness, yea, and nothing shall escape them. Verse 10 says, the earth shall quake before them, the Shemaim, the heavens, shall tremble. The Shomesh Ve'areach, which is the sun and the moon, shall be darkened. The Kokavim, or the stars, shall withdraw their shining. And Yahuah shall utter his voice before his army, or his host. For his camp is very great. For he is strong that executes his word. For the day of Yahuah is great and very terrible, and who can abide it? Right? So there's going to be some things happening as this garden. Could you imagine as this garden is being built up on the outside, no one can get in, right? So this is going to be some type of garden. Now, there's only one way you can get into this garden. Yeah, it's going to be something. Now, we're going to read later on that where the cheruvim, or the cherubims, kind of called the cherubs, right? They had the flames, right? But you read later on that was actually a gate. Okay, so it's not just like an open garden with no gates. It's secure. The whole thing is secure. Okay?
A gated community.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Someone going to be knocking at the door. All right. Now, we're not going to fully go into this today, but the bride is preparing for the wedding in where? So do you know where the wedding is going to take place? Okay, inside of Gan Eden, right? So, that'd be another teaching to do, but right now we're just going to get started with the basics. So 3 Enoch 23:17 says, whither do all these winds go? It is taught that they go out from under the wings of Hacheruvim, or the cherubims, and fall on the orb of the Shemesh, or the sun, as it is written, southward goes the wind, then turns to the north. It turns and turns again back. Then it is circling goes the wind. From the orb of the sun, they go around and fall upon the mountains and the hills, as it is written, for he it is who formed the mountains, created the wind. From the mountains and hills, they go around and fall upon seas and the rivers. From the sea and the rivers, they go around and fall upon towns and cities. From towns and cities, they go around and fall upon the garden, the Eden, right? And from the garden, they go around and fall upon the garden. As it is written, he walked in the garden at the time of the daily wind. In the midst of the the garden, Eden, it says, they mingled and blew from one side to the other. They become fragrant from the perfumes of the Eden, from Eden, if you will, and from the spices of Eden, until scattering, saturated with scent of pure perfume. They bring the scent of spices of Eden and the perfumes of Eden before the righteous, and the righteous who shall inherit Gan Eden, and Eitz Ha-Chaim, the tree of life, in the times to come. As it is written, awake, north wind, come, wind from the south, breathe over my garden to spread its sweet smell around. Let my beloved come into his Eden. Let him taste its rarest fruit. Now you got to think about something here. In this here, you can imagine these winds are blowing. And when they're blowing, it's blowing all kinds of smells from the trees and perfumes and all this stuff is happening, right? So it's got a sweet smell going on, and then what else is happening in there? He wants you to taste some of the rarest fruit, right? Now you're going to see there's a description. Does anyone know the description of how the fruit of the tree of life looks like? Anyone familiar with that? What it looks like? Okay.
Well, the Catholic Church plays an apple. Kumquat.
No one can hear anybody. Okay.
Oh, you know, in tradition it says an apple or a kumquat.
I thought they were talking about that was something knowledge of good and evil. They had an apple.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, well, you know,
The tree of life.
tree of life.
What fruit?
I'm just saying.
Have anyone read a description of how that fruit looks? Okay, so is the answer no? Okay, all right.
No.
All right, we'll keep that in mind.
I got a
At
question.
least it don't come to mind right away.
Okay.
So the winds that's blowing, what does that represent?
Well, we're going to see it in a minute.
Okay. Say-
But we'll read it. We'll read it today. No worries. All right. So think about this here, where it says it was written. It's also you read in Songs of Solomon. Awake, O north wind, and come, you south. Blow upon my garden, that the spices thereof may flow out. Let my beloved come into his garden and eat his pleasant fruits. Okay. So keep in mind that there's going to be some things happening in this garden. We'll see more on that later. All right, the last part, then we'll get into us a little bit. So Jubilees 8:19 says, and he knew that Gan Eden was the what? Kodesh HaKadashim. Now, who is the he? This is Noah. So you ain't got to worry about looking it up right now, right? So Noah is the one he knew that Gan Eden was also considered the most set apart place. How, if you think about the tabernacle, the Kodesh Kodashim, that's what this is here. He says, and the dwelling of Yahuah and Mount Sinai or Mount Sinai was in the midst of the desert, and Mount Sion was in the midst of the navel of the earth. And the three of these were created as Kodesh places, one facing the other. Okay, now, so now we see that, a little picture of the garden a little bit. We'll come back to it a little later. Now we're going to go into this fruit, the spirit, and then the servant, and then us. Okay? All right, so 11:1 says, there shall come forth a shoot from the stump of Yeshai or Jesse, and a branch from his roots shall bear fruit. Now, we're going to see later on as we go through this, you're going to see a bunch of this bearing fruit. Okay? A lot of stuff dealing with bearing fruit. And the Ruach of Yahuah shall rest upon him, the Ruach of Chokmah, which is wisdom, and Bina, understanding, the Ruach of Itzah, right, counsel, and Givurah, might, and the Ruach of Da'at, knowledge. And what last one is it? How do you say this last one? Yir'eh, okay? As they'll say Yir'eh or Yir'at, fear of Yahuah. And his delight shall be in the fear of Yahuah. He shall not judge by what his eyes see, or decide disputes by what his ears hear. And we believe that this is who? So we're saying we believe it's Mashiach, right? So we're believing that the Ruach of Yahuah is on him, and he has all of these attributes of what? Of that spirit, right? Keep that in mind, because we've got to talk about when you get it. Right, so now we're getting a picture of how it is here. He said, but with righteousness he shall judge the poor and decide with what? With equity for the meek of the earth, and he shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall kill the wicked. Righteousness shall be the belt of his waist, and faithfulness the belt of his loins. So when he moves, he's going to have this spirit. Right, and we'll see that in the Brit Kadashah in just a minute. But we noticed that the movement of the spirit for the Mashiach should be the same kind of movement for us. Is that fair to say so far? Yes. Okay. All right, so this is Testament of Levi. He says, and the kabod, or the steam of Elion, shall burst forth upon him, and the ruach of understanding and sanctification shall rest upon him. And in the water is not in the text, just been added. He says, for he shall give the majesty of Yahuah to those who are his sons in truth forever. So he's going to give this to somebody, right? So we got to see how we can prepare ourselves for this. He said, and there shall be no successor for him from generation to generation forever. And in his, what's this word here? Kahunat, right? Kahunat, which means priesthood. Okay, so in his priesthood, in his kahunat, the nations shall be multiplied in knowledge on the earth, and they shall be illumined by the favor of Yahuah. But Yashrael, or Yisrael, shall be diminished by her ignorance and darkened by her grief. In his kahunat, sin shall cease, and lawless men shall rest from their evil deeds, and the righteous men shall find rest in him. And he shall open the gates of, so Gan Eden has some gates, all right? Plural. And he's opened the gates. He shall remove the sword that has threatened since Adam. Okay? So keep that in mind. There's a gate, and this gate, there's some gatekeepers. Okay? Then it says, verse 11 says, and he will grant to the saints to eat of Eitz HaChaim, the tree of life, Ruach HaKodesh, the set apart spirit, shall be upon them. So you need this to get into the gates. If you don't have the spirit, the set apart spirit, you can have a spirit. But if you don't have the spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, you won't be able to get into the gate. Is everyone with me so far? So you really want that spirit. That's your seal, which we'll read later on. Okay? Because if he seals you, then there's a transformation that will take place. Okay? We'll talk about that in a minute. They say it. All right. Now, Genesis 2:9, everyone knows, is familiar with this. It says, and out of the ground, Yahuah Elohim made to spring up every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. Eitz HaChaim, the tree of life, was in the midst of Ha-Eden, the Eden. And what else was there? Eitz HaDa'at Tov V'Ra, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. All right. So we're starting off a little light on this Hebrew. We're going to get a little bit further into it as we go, right? Just to see if you really want to do that. All right. So anyway, 22:2 says, through the middle of the street of the city, also on either side of the river, Eitz HaChaim, with its 12 kinds of fruit, yielding its fruit each month. The leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. We went over that last week, right? Great. Testament of Judah says, and after this, there shall arise for you a star from Yaakov in peace, and a man shall arise from my posterity like the Son of Righteousness, walking with the sons of men in gentleness and righteousness, and in him will be found no sin. Who we believe this is? So we still believe this is Mashiach, right? Mashiach, Tov. All right, and then it says, and the heavens will be open upon him to pour out. What is he pouring out? Haruah. So he's going to be pouring out the Spirit. Remember, he said, I leave, and what's going to happen? There's going to be a comforter. And okay, great. So Haruah as a blessing of the Chodesh Father. So it's coming from the Father, as it says in John. All right, it says, and he will pour the Ruach of kind of favor on you, and you shall be sons in truth. Now, how is that happening? First, he's going to pour the Spirit on you of favor, and then after that, you shall be what? Sons in truth, right? And it's going to happen in this order. So I just want you to be familiar with it now as we go into this a little bit later. And you will walk in his first and final decrees. All right? First and final decrees. So once that Spirit gets on you, right, and it's going to cause you to do some things, right? And you will no longer do all this other stuff, right? Everyone with me so far? All right. Where we at here? So verse 6. Oh, 4. All right. It says, this is the shoot of El Elyon, This is the fountain for the life of all humanity. Then he will illumine the scepter of my kingdom. And from your root will arise the shoot, and through it will arise the rod of righteousness for the nations, to judge and to save all that call on Yahuah. Okay, verse 25. 1 says, and after this, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov will be resurrected to life, and I, meaning Judah, and I and my brothers will be chief wielding our scepters in Yashral Israel. Lewi the first, Ani is Yehuda the second, Yosef the third, Benjamin the fourth. Who's this one here? Shimon the fifth. Okay, Yiscar the sixth, and all the rest in their order. And Yahuwah blessed Lewi, and it says the what? Malach Panal. What does that mean? The messenger of his presence. Okay, remember that one that's in Isaiah, right? The messenger of his presence. Bless me, the power of Kabod Steam. Bless Shimon. The heaven bless Reuben. The earth bless Yissachar. The sea bless Zebulun. The mountains bless Yosef. The tents bless Benjamin. The lights bless Dan. Luxury bless Naphtali. The sun bless God. Yes, it says God, not Gad. The olive tree bless Asher. Okay? And you shall be one people of Yahuwah with one language. Anyone read that in Zephaniah somewhere? Chapter 3? Huh? So we definitely going to go back to it. Shalom, shalom. Okay. This messing now. We won't be doing that. All right. All right, so there shall be no more be what? The ruach of Belial, of error, because he will be thrown into eternal fire. So we have to worry about Belial or his spirit, or the sons of Belial, if you will. All right, so Matthew 12 says, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Yeshayahu the prophet, saying, behold, my servant, whom I have chosen, my beloved, in whom my soul is well pleased. I will put my ruach, my spirit, upon him, and he shall show judgment to the Gentiles or to the nations. He shall not strive nor cry, neither shall any man hear his voice in the streets. A bruised reed shall he not break, and smoke flecks shall he not quench, till he send forth judgment unto Nikias, which is the word victory, which is get the word for Nike from. All right. And in his name shall the Gentiles trust. Then was brought unto him one possessed with a devil, blind and dumb, and he healed him, insomuch that the blind and dumb both spoke and saw. Now, when he did this, what did Mashiach have on him? Keep that in mind. Remember, the Ruach, the Spirit, is on him. And now all of these things are starting to take place. I want you, when I say multiple hats of the Ruach, I hope you guys are going to see how this is going to work. All right, so 23 says, and all the people were amazed and said, is not this son of David? But when the Pharisee of the Perushim heard it, they said, this fellow does not cast out devils, but by Beelzebub, the prince of the Shedim, or the devils. And Yeshayahu knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Shaitan cast out Shaitan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? And if I, by Beelzebub, cast out devils, by whom do your children cast them out? Therefore, they shall be your judges. But if I cast out devils by Ruach Elohim, so if I'm casting these devils out by the spirit of Elohim, so that's what you got to see how powerful this spirit is. He said, then the kingdom of Elohim is come unto you. Okay, so everyone with me so far? Any questions so far? Low? All right. Or else, how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house. So once you see the Spirit comes down, as Michelle got immersed, here comes the Ruach. He goes out, a lot of healing happened, this happening, that's happening. And over here, you start reading that now he's doing all kinds of miracles, having the Spirit of Elohim. Is everyone good so far? All right. You need a mic, is that? Oh.
So one thing that just jumped out at me on verse 27.
Mhm.
All right. So you asked him a question, right? He said, "Now you said I'm doing this by Beelzebub, and then by whom do your children cast them out?" So that goes to say that there was some working of the Ruach prior to him, so they were able to, when he moved, to cast out unclean spirits.
Right.
Yeah. So they didn't want to answer that. They're like, "Well, we saying it by the Spirit of Elohim."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
yeah. Okay. All right, my servant, Yeshayahu 42 or Isaiah 42:1 says, "Behold, my servant whom I uphold, my elect, in whom my soul delights. I have put my Ruach upon him. He shall bring forth judgment to the Gentiles. He shall not cry, nor lift up, nor cause his voice to be heard in the streets. As a bruised reed shall he not break, and the smoke flex shall he not quench. And he shall bring forth judgment on the truth. Okay, and he shall not fail, nor be discouraged till he has set judgment in the earth, and the owl shall wait for his Torah," his law, which we read. Now 6 says, "Ani Yahuah, I am Yahuah, have called you in righteousness, and will hold your hand, and will keep you, and give you for a covenant of the people, for light to the Gentiles, to open the blind eyes, to bring out the prisoners from the prisons, and them that sit in darkness out of the prison house." Now, tell me about this last part here now. We read it before, we're reading it again. How does this work for you? It says, "Ani Yahuah, I have called you in righteousness, and we hold your hand, and will keep you, and give you for a covenant the people, for a light to the Gentiles." Who is that?
This is his nation. I give you for a covenant of the people. This is the Yisrael, because they're supposed to be the priests to all nations.
Okay, what'd you say?
Mashiach.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? All right. So do y'all remember we read this before? Okay. A lot of people outside, Shirai.
But I didn't do my job.
Oh, no, Shirai. Oh, he holding the mic. He like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyone want to say anything? Oh, they done got quiet fast.
He's given a covenant to us, his people.
All right. So just so you guys understand, if I'm gonna do something twice, there's a question. All right, just to see if you're listening. All right. So the point is, we know the answer is up top. My servant. Everyone agrees who the servant is, right? All right. So then after that, this particular servant, right, is a covenant people and a light for the Gentiles, right? Will we be a light to the Gentiles? Okay. So the servant's going to be a light to the Gentiles. We are going to be a light to the Gentiles. Everyone agrees to that? Okay, great. This ought to be an interesting class. All right. 49:1. "Listen, O isles, unto me, and hearken, you people from far. Yahuwah has called me from the womb. From the bowels of my mother has he made mention of my name." Okay, who is this? Oh, wow.
He's
Okay.
still talking about us, the servant.
He says talking about us, or is it talking about Mashiach? Wow. Okay. So this, I want to just welcome you guys to Isaiah chapter 49 for you guys' first time.
It's talking about Mashiach, but we're going to follow Mashiach.
All right. Let me just I'll keep reading it, and I think it's going to click. Yeah, I'm going to keep reading it. It's going to click. I promise you. All right. So it says, "And he's made his mouth like a sharp sword, In the shadow of his hand has he hid me and made me a polished shaft. In his quiver has he hid me. Oh, goodness. Oh, it gets better. Hold on. No,
we gotta stop this.
no. It's gonna clear up in just a minute. It's gonna clear up in just a minute. All right. Now he said, and he said unto me, "You are my servant, O Israel, in whom I will be esteemed." He said, then I said, I have labored in vain. I have spent my strength for naught, and in vain, yet surely my judgment is with Yahuah, and my work with my Elohim. And now, says Yahuah, that formed me. He said, that's who? Israel. Okay. That formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Yaakov again to him through. Though Israel be not gathered, yet shall I be esteemed in the eyes of Yahuah, and my Elohim shall be my strength. And he said, it is a light thing that you should be my servant to raise up the tribe of Yaakov and to restore the preserved of. I will also give you a light to the Gentiles, that you may be my salvation to the ends of the earth. Did it? Oh, wow. Okay, I know who this is. Got it. All right. Yeah. I understand this is the first time you all saw Isaiah. It's all good. I got you. We'll keep going. No worries. All right. So the servant will have a healing ministry, fulfillment of Israel's end time restoration prophecies, and is performed through the works of the Ruach. Okay? The Spirit. All right. So Luke 3:21. It says the Ruach is on who? Yahushua, right? Okay, good. Anointed him, right? So it says, now when all the people were immersed, it came to pass that Yahushua also being immersed and praying, the heaven was open, and Ruach HaKodesh, to set up our spirit, did what? Descended in a bodily shape like a dove upon him, and a voice came from Shamayim, or from heaven, which said, you are my beloved son, in you I'm well pleased. Then the Ruach of Adonai is upon me, because he has anointed me to preach the Basar. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Basar to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised. Now, the Spirit comes on him now. He said the Spirit's going to cause him to do all of these things. Now, let me put my disclaimer up, because some will say, listen, I think I got the Spirit. I can't do none of this. Okay? So I'm not saying that you don't have it. Okay? You might be working on something we're going to talk about a little bit different. Okay? There's some things that I'll tell you what it is. There's a fruit of the Spirit that you might need first. Some of us still got some work that has to be done inside of us, and we're going to see what that means. Right? So you ain't going to be out here zapping and healing, and this not happening. You still got some stuff you got to deal with yourself. Okay? I got the Spirit. Go heal that person. Just last week, they were doing all some crazy. So I wish that person was.
Just talking.
You know what I mean? Think about it. If you
just got finished cussing somebody out.
For everybody in here and everyone online, everybody here and everybody online, I want you to picture something. In just a week, let's just, if you did good, let's just stretch it out for 2 weeks. But for a week, if you think back, do you think you did for 1 week everything y'all wanted you to do? But you want to go out healing. Huh?
We'll be on TV.
Okay.
We have a tent meeting going. We'll do that whole thing they was doing in the 1940s and 50s and 60s, where they was going around just having tent healing meetings.
Oh, a revival, huh?
Running revival.
They want a revival. All right. So, but I just want you to think about it. Just 1 week. If you can go back 1 week, if you got good memory, think about some things you thought about. Think about what you thought about others. What you said about others. Huh? So I want you to see, but the question everyone has sometimes is, how come he's not here today? Okay, well, let's start with you. How was your week, your 2-3 weeks? How was your month? Was you doing good? Well, now, okay, then stop worrying about that healing until you start worrying about your inside. Okay? All right. So they won't, all right, we'll keep going because I know they said this is, I'm not talking about nobody here. All right, so Luke 4:19 says to preach the acceptable year of Yahuah. All right, so now, Yeshayahu Isaiah 6:1. It says, Ruach Adonai Yahuah is upon me because Yahuah has anointed me to preach the good tidings to the meek. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to captives, right? So we read all of this here, right? So everyone sees that the spirit that was on the Mashiach, you read in Isaiah, you hear about the spirit doing the same thing. Is that fair to say for everybody so far? Okay, great. All right, so the prophecy of Isaiah 61 is being fulfilled in Yahushua to bring forth spiritual and physical restoration, right? So I want you to see that just like that pattern is going to happen, that's what we're going to happen for us in the future. We'll see how that goes in a minute. All right, so restoration starts from Yahushua. So we read Luke 4:31. He came down to, where did he come down to? Capernaum, or Capernaum, right? A city of Galilee or Galilee, and taught them on the Shabbat days. And they were astonished at his doctrine, for his words was what? So his words was with power. How do you get words with power? You get the Holy Ghost? Go ahead, put that in the mic. Put that in the mic. We will make sure we hear you right. Oh, man. Oh, yeah, he was in it. All right, you said the Holy Ghost. Okay. He over there scaring people. Woo, with power. Got it. No worries. Okay, and in the synagogue, there was a man which had a ruach of an unclean devil, and he cried out with a loud voice, saying, let us alone. What have we to do with you? What does it say there? Yahushua Matnatzeret, right? Yahushua from Nazareth. Are you come to destroy us? I know you who you are. Kodesh HaElohim, O set apart of Elohim. And Yahushua rebuked him, saying, hold your peace and come out of him. So whenever you start thinking, this is just for the brothers, sisters, you cover your ears. If you think she got a spirit in her, you tell her, hold your peace, woman. No, don't do that. Don't do that. All right. She said, I wish you would. All right. He said, hold your peace. Yeah. Yeah. We have some small plates today. All right. And when the devil had thrown him in the midst, he came out of him and hurt him not. And they were all amazed and spoke among themselves, saying, what a word is this? He says, for with authority and power, he commands the unclean ruchot, the spirits, and they come out. Okay? So he can able to command them with this ruach. That's a strong ruach that can command other spirits, right? It's let you know the strength of Yah's spirit compared to other spirits in this world, right? Is everyone with me so far? Okay. So it is Ruach Adonai Yahuah from Isaiah 61 who gives Yahushua authority and power to begin to do this restorative work of the new creation, because we're going to see later on, this new creation is going to start inside. What's that? Someone say something?
Only thing I said, we are the new creation.
Okay.
I'm sorry, baby.
As soon as we get finished, we're going to see just how newly created we are. Yeah. We're going to find out in just a minute. All right. I know him. All right. So the power of the Ruach. 1 Corinthians 15:20 says, but now is Mashiach risen from the dead and become the first fruits of them that slept. For since by man came death, by man came also the resurrection of the dead. For as in Adam all die, even so in Mashiach shall all be made alive. Now, I didn't highlight it, but I want you guys to think about the first fruit. You got fruit of the Spirit, first fruits. I wonder how all this stuff comes together. All right. 23 says, but every man in his own order. Mashiach, the first fruits. Afterwards, they that are Mashiachs at his coming. Then comes the end, when he shall have delivered up Malchut HaElohim, which is what is Malchut HaElohim, the kingdom of Elohim, even the Father, when he shall have put down all rule and all authority and didn't you just read that before? So Mashiach using authority and power, the Father going to use authority and power, and you're supposed to be using authority and power. This is how we're going to transform the earth, or supposed to transform the earth, right? If everybody wants to be obedient instead of worrying about how we treat one another. All right. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption. It is raised in. Okay. So now, this is going to be my question in a minute. Oh, let me wait for it then. I'll tell you what. So it says sown in corruption, and then it says it is sown in dishonor, and it is raised in esteem or kabod. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown a what? Goof nafshi. What is a goof nafshi? Goof means body. Nafshi is soul. How's it translated in, let's say, King James? Okay. It's translated spirit. You sure? Does it talk about a natural body? Is it not natural? Okay. So, but I want you to see this in the Hebrew here, because even though it says natural, it's really the body of the soul. This is how this comes about. So it says it is sown a goof nafshi, a soulish body feel. It is raised a goof ruchani. Okay. Okay. It's going to be raised in a spiritual body. Okay. There is a guf nafshi and there is a guf ruchani. And so it is written, the first man, Adam, was made a nefesh chaya. Okay, nefesh chaya, a living soul. The last Adam was made a quickening ruach. Now, my question is, what is a quickening ruach? You need a mic? Oh, Zoom needs a chance? Oh, okay.
A living spirit, a living spirit.
Okay, living spirit. Anyone else?
An understanding spirit.
Understanding spirit. Okay. Anyone else? All right. All right. The ruach, Machaya means a life, living, giving spirit. So he was raised in a type of spirit. The Greek says the same thing: to make alive, to keep alive. All right. So when he was raised, he was raised in this giving spirit. Right? Is everyone with me so far? But you're gonna see how the spirit goes a long way. Right. So you see how he's going to give it to you. He's going to give you that life. So he was raised in a way that he can now give life. Okay. Okay. Kanisha?
Sorry, I'm on my laptop and I kept clapping, thinking I was raising my hand. So
the old laptop.
Man, no.
Oh. Clap on, clap off. Okay, I got it.
Okay, so what led us to this? Because I know coming into this walk, we're learning, and now it's a transition, and we're getting deeper within the things that Yahuah would have for us. So what was leading us and guiding us while we were in Christianity? Like, was that not, because I mean, even now when I even speak to some of some people who are still in the Christian faith, some of the things that do happen with them, and had I not been in this walk, I would have said, yes, that was Yahuah for sure. That was the spirit of Yahuah for sure. And so what was that not? Because something had to get us here. So does this only happen once you're in the walk, or like, should I disregard everything that happened before?
Oh, just disregard. No, no, that's not what you do. So the reality is, remember, he knows you're in from the beginning, right? He's going to give everybody an opportunity to know him. He knows when that time is for everybody. But he does, the example I normally give is just like babies. If let's just say someone, hey, I'm a newborn Christian, for an example. They're in a babe state. Does that mean he don't like babies? When you all have children or babies, do you like your babies? Absolutely. But he's hoping that you grow and you mature as you continue to study, to learn, even those that are in the walk, for an example. And they said, this is happening, but do they keep going? Some of them fall off. Some get stiff-necked. Whereas you see no difference than, let's say, in Christianity. In Christianity, there are those that have a genuine love from where they are at that time. And yes, he's going to bless them. He's going to love them. But they got to still keep enduring to the end. They can't just stop. So, I found it. No, you have not found it yet.
Toda.
Okay. More Daoud?
Yes, to address this sister's question, I always like to tell people in all walks of belief, the major ones especially, they're, first of all, walking with the Heavenly Father is progressive. We have to get to that understanding, and second of all, starting these major three religions, it's a good place to start if you're sincere about belief, but it's not necessarily where you want to finish if you're progressively walking with the Father and wanting to learn and get as close to the Father as possible. And, like the Moreh was saying, the Father knows the sincerity of all his children's heart. And we can't forget, when he calls us, because he called all of us from out of that, whatever background we was going to, it's the ones we know that we're called by him because we hearken unto his voice. That's how we know that we're his children. A lot of people in walks of religion and different faith, they're not his children. It's just because when he do call, they don't hearken unto his voice. They do something else. So, those little things right there are what you can see, what makes the difference, because the Father's in control of everything and his spirit moves in everything.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Moreh.
That was a
Moreh, that was good.
Yes, he had 60 seconds. We were. No worry. He gonna be good.
All right.
He gave some good information.
Yes, he did. Yes,
Okay.
he did. That's another thing I want to keep everybody in reminder. What was the purpose of the Ruach HaKodesh? When the Comforter come, what was his work to be done?
Lead and guide to all truth.
Okay, what else? What else? What other responsibilities?
Other parts of the Ruach.
Do we remember? Let's go to Yochanan. All right, and it says 16, right? It says, and the Comforter will not come unto you, but if I depart, I will send it unto you. Verse 8, and when he comes, he will reprove the world.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you got to do with reproving the world? What does reproving mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not only just convict them to show proofs and evidence of the truth. Right? If he's leading you to God and all the truth, you out in the world, he comes to convict, to show you proof, to bring you out. And you heard his voice, then you start to hearken into that understanding. Then he goes on and says, to prove the world of sin and of righteousness and of judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you didn't start out righteous. Who was that brought you in when you was in the world? It's something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Okay, we're at verse 46. He says, howbeit that was not first, which is Ruchani, right? But that which was Hanafshi. And afterwards, that which is Haruchani. Okay, remember soul, then spirit. All right. 1 Corinthians 15:49 says, and as we have borne the image of the earthly, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly. Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit Malchut HaElohim, the kingdom of heaven. Kingdom of Elohim. Neither does corruption inherit incorruption. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet or the shofar, it shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. Now, I want you to see something. From corruption to incorruption is the last stage. Okay, that's the last stage. This is the first stage. From mortal to immortality starts when? Now, inside of you. If the Spirit's dwelling inside of you, he's trying to get you to immortality, right? The last thing is going to be this corrupted body. That's going to have to change in the last, okay? So anyway, so it says, so when a corruptible shall have put on incorruption and immortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the sayings that it is written, death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is your sting? O grave, where is your victory? John 3:3 says, Yahuah answered and said unto him, verily, verily, I say unto you, except a man be born again, he cannot see Malchut HaElohim, right? The kingdom of Elohim. Yahuah answered, verily, verily, I say unto you, except a man be born of Hamayim, of the water, and Haruach, of the spirit, he cannot enter into the Malchut HaElohim, right? The kingdom of Elohim. That which is born of Ha-basar is basar, and that which is born of Haruach is ruach. Okay, is everyone with me so far? Okay, all right. It's very important to understand, which we're going to talk about basar in just a second, unless you guys know what it means. What does basar mean?
Flesh.
Okay, you say flesh. Okay, all right. Ezekiel 36:25 says, then will I sprinkle clean water upon you, and you shall be clean from all your filthiness, and from all your idols will I cleanse you. And it says, Lev HaKadesh, so that's a moon heart. And also I will give you the Ruach HaKadeshah, a Ruach of a moon Ruach, and I will put within you. Is that what it said? I figured I'd use it because he said, Kadash, right? It was, hey, it's the new moon. Let me shut up. All right, so, all right, let me keep going. I just had a little something I wanted to say. All right, and I'll put within you, and I will. In other words, I'm just simply stating that this cannot be moon, right? Everyone is good, right? So even though they use the word Kodesh, right, comes from the word Kadash, but that'd be another topic. So anyway, as the stony heart out of your flesh, and I will give you a heart of flesh. John 3, it says, and the wind blows where it lists, and you hear the sound thereof, but you cannot tell whence it comes and where it goes. So is everyone, what does that word there say? Shenolad min haruach. That is born from the Spirit. Remember nulad means born when we did our Hebrew class? Okay, all right. All right, so keep this in mind, right? That the wind blows where it wants to blow, right? All right, so this goes with Ezekiel 37:9 says, then says unto me, prophesy unto, it says the wind, right? And here, but in the Hebrew there it says unto the Haruach, right? Prophesy, son of man, and say unto Haruach, thus says Adonai Yahuah, come from the fourth Ruchot, spirits, O Haruach, O the spirit, and breathe upon these slain that they may live. Okay, so again, it says, we're translated as wind, right? But one could say, is this really the wind in this particular scripture, or is this literally four spirits that are held from the four corners coming to blow on his people? They are coming from the four corners to come and blow on his people.
Going back to the
No, say no. If anyone know what you said.
Going back to your earlier slide,
Yeah.
back on the question that he asked,
Mhm.
is this coming up to the answer that he's asking? Who are those winds? What are those winds?
Right. So it says how to ruach, right? So I was going to say the lesson we did about Elohim, we went over this a little bit more further, but just to say that, for an example, yes, this is dealing with the literal spirit itself. All right. All right. Now, 2 Corinthians 1:21 says, well, Elohim or Elohim, and Elohim who established us with you. Then it says, Ba Mashiach, and has Mashiach us. What does that mean, Ba Mashiach? In the Mashiach, right? And has Mashiach has anointed us. Okay. Then it says, and who has also put his seal on us and has given us Haruach, or the Spirit, in our hearts as a guarantee. Now, we'll talk about guarantee in just a minute. Indeed, we felt that we had received the sentence of death, but that was to make us rely not on ourselves, but on Elohim who raised the dead. He delivered us from such a deadly peril, and he will deliver us. On him we have set our hope that we will deliver us again. Now, seal, which we'll read in just a minute, and the guarantee. The same word for guarantee in the Greek is the same word for as a down payment. Okay, so the spirit or the ruach becomes the down payment, right? That is the guarantee. If you're trying to make it in, now, if you say, hey, I know I got the spirit, just a question, how do you know you guys have the spirit? Versus a spirit. And I'm not talking about a wicked spirit, because you yourself have a spirit, right? So how do you know you have the Ruach HaKodesh? What tells you that?
The fruit of the spirit. The fruit of evidence that shows that you have that down payment.
Okay, suppose someone say, well, listen, those that did not know the Torah became a Torah to themselves. They know what good and bad is. How do you guys know you guys have the Ruach HaKodesh? So it's safe to say
by what you say and what you do.
Okay, but suppose you could be a Torah to yourself. I know this is good. I know this is bad.
You got to be a doer.
Hey, I have a heart to do that personally. Okay, all right. Kanisha, okay, I'm ready.
I meant to put my hand down because.
Okay, no problem. No. Okay, no problem. Doe, you got something?
Yeah, you have the spirit when you strongly want to defend the word of the Most High. The word of the Most High goes before you and sets itself all about you. That's how you know you walk in the spirit, when you're defending that word and you living that word and you're talking that word. That's the spirit.
Okay. Anyone else? Toria? Okay.
Yeah, I think it'll show by your actions more than anything. Like, you won't have to profess it. People can tell by the way you live. The actual fruit will show throughout your life.
Okay. All right. So I want you to think about something. We do know the Ruach will lead and guide you, right?
Yes.
But also think about this here. As you guys are learning, and you had something? Oh, okay. As you ever start witnessing to people, for an example, and scripture just starts coming to your head. You felt a need that you had to go say something, and you said it, and it was what that person needs. Or if you didn't say it, someone else said it that you should have said it, right? We don't have those type of situations. Okay, so there are things that we know that being obedient to his Torah, his instructions, right? Because some people might say, well, hey, if I'm not speaking in tongues, then you might need to be dipped again. I don't know if everyone, that's what I've heard for years, but they got to think about, the fruit of the spirit, right? If you're operating in these fruits, you distinguish certain fruits from your fruit from the Ruach, from the spirit that's coming from the Father. Okay. But we'll see more of that later on, maybe in another lesson. Okay, Priscilla?
Yes, Moreh, would you say maybe that, the true spirit, the true set apart spirit would never contradict his word?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it will never, never. It says, who knows the mindset of the spirit? The spirit knows the mind of Elohim. So absolutely.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay. Yeah, you can say something. Someone say, well, this is what this interprets. This is what this means, and you say, well, I didn't read that. Where'd you get that from? Oh, the Spirit gave it to me.
Well, there we go.
So the minute you do that, that's a wrap. You can't contradict. You can't stop. You can't. And the point is, some things are just taken out of context, right? Some things is how they feel or something that they went through. And sometimes what they went through something, then a voice comes and tells them, well, you don't need to do that. Oh, that's Father. That's Yah right there. And next you know, you start telling everybody that lie. Okay.
So when you was mentioning about like things come to your memory when you're speaking to somebody. So yeah, I guess, are you saying like we know that we have the Ruach when we have an inspiration within ourselves, that it's a confirmation somewhere? You know what I'm saying? Like you was inspired to say something or do something, and then there was a fruit that came out of that. It was a confirmation that came out of that.
Right. So like you say, hey, I go rob a bank. I got this feeling inside. It went through. We're good. No,
that's connected to the word. So that's connected to righteousness.
So my point, I guess, is there are some things where when you think about when you're in your praise and worship time, how much feel that warm feeling, or you feel this excitement, and you know he's in the room, or how we all in here, everyone starts feeling the Ruach within even not just within us, but around us, right? So there are other ways of knowing that the Spirit is there. And again, it says 2 or 3 are gathered, someone's there with you, right? And I say sharing with one another, sometimes when you start talking and you're trying to witness to somebody, all of a sudden this scripture comes up and this scripture comes up. Now you got all these scriptures start coming to your head, and you be like, I wasn't thinking about that. How'd that come there? Because it's bringing back things to your memory. It'll give you what you need to say at that time. Okay. All right. All right, so we're at 2 Corinthians. The spiritual beginnings, impartation of the theological promise of Elohim from the beginning, including that of the inaugurated resurrection life that believers share with Mashiach. All right, so 2 Corinthians 5:2 says, for in this tent we groan longing to put on our heavenly dwelling, if indeed by putting it on we may not be found naked. For while we are still in this tent, we groan being what? Burdened. You guys feel burdened in this tent that you guys are in sometimes? Okay. All right. Not that we would be unclothed, but that we would be further clothed, so that what is mortal may be swallowed up by life. He who has prepared us for this very thing is Elohim, who has given us Haruach as a down payment. See? So the Spirit is the down payment. You're going to want the Spirit. Okay? Now, even though we all want, how many of us in here say we want the Spirit, right? But you can't want it and then do your thing. It just doesn't work that way. You can't be having to struggle within yourself. Spirit saying, go do this. No. No. You know what that person did to me the other day, last week, last year, 10 years ago, 15 years ago? Just when I see them, all that just comes back as a flash. Oh, Yah, help me, right? Is that Yah's Spirit? Okay. So now you see there's a struggle within you, right? All right. So you know what? Who? Okay. Kenisha and Joseph?
This down payment, Moreh, that you're speaking of, is it the same that you need to have? Is it the same that's spoken of in the parable with the 10 virgins? That's the lamp and the oil being trimmed and ready. Is that the same thing, or?
Okay, well, so the down payment is the Spirit, and we can parallel the oil as the ruach, but we must make ourselves ready. I mean, we have to stay alert all the time. But I mean, we have to walk a certain way, awaiting for the bridegroom.
Yes, but in that passage, it also says that some will say, "Give me some of your oil." So is this the same down payment, the ruach in that parable? Is that what it's referring to?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Similar, it can be, but at the end of the day, the Spirit's not going to jump on that person into the other person. You know, let me give you part of Yah's Spirit, and let me do that. That's something that we wouldn't be able to do. So when I say it can be, meaning that when it comes to those that are anointed, when we're gathered together, sure, the Spirit is helping us within each other. Those that have fallen away, you know, have not done what the Father's told them to do, then the oil that they used to have, meaning the word, the things that told them that the Mashiach was coming, all of a sudden they let all that go. And then all of a sudden now here's time to leave, and all of a sudden they come into those that are righteous. So that's what I'm saying. It can be, but technically it's just a parable. But it's not really saying that that oil really is the Ruach.
Torah.
Yosef?
Yeah, shalom. Question. When it comes to knowing the question of knowing if the rock is in you, or do you have the rock, which you asked earlier, when it comes to following the will of Abba, is that another indicator? Like if I know like I shouldn't be doing this because this will definitely not please the Father, is that an indicator that the Spirit is on you as well?
Yeah, well, it can, but I'll say it this way. Not only that, but you start to feel something within you stating that is telling you don't do something. Right. And then you can tell that that's that voice that you're hearing, that Spirit saying this thing here. Because sometimes we know things that we're not supposed to do, but we do it anyway.
Yeah.
Or we just turn from it. I don't want to cause no problems. So I'll just turn. Or you can have something that's in you that's saying, I wouldn't do that. Hold your peace. Just wait. You will see. And then by you doing that, it wind up helping or blessing somebody else. So yeah.
Okay. Torah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the ruach in our basar, or in our flesh. All right. So the seal and down payment, Shaul depicts the ruach as the agent for the resurrecting of life. 2 Corinthians 3:18 says, and we all, with unveiled face, behold the esteem of the chabod of Yahuah, are being transformed into the same image from one degree of esteem to another. For this comes from Yahuah, who is Haruach, who is the Spirit. So we do not lose heart. Though our outer self is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day. May I see this change starts where? Inside. This immortality is going to start on the inside. Okay. Then it says, this is a little bit of my notes. I said the ruach is the down payment, meaning that the fuller resurrection of life will come in the future from the seal. The seal is the ruach. Okay. So in him, this is Ephesians 1:13, in him you also, when you heard the word of truth, the basar of your salvation, and believed in him, were sealed with the promise Ruach HaKodesh. Okay. Who is the guarantee or the down payment of our inheritance until we acquire possession of it to the praise of his kabod or esteem. So the word possession refers to the final resurrection and being called to possess Mashiach's esteem. Okay, we'll see how that works in the future. But here's my question I think I have on here. Why is the Hebrew word gospel, good news, good tidings, and flesh translated as basar? Anyone? Any takers? Going once, going twice, sold. All right. Basar means to bring a message or news. Bring good news. Your body was made to carry his light, his good news. Your flesh is the gospel, if you will. Okay. So in other words, the good news is supposed to be traveling by your flesh. Okay. Is everyone with me so far? Right. It's a living word. You're living. The good news is coming by way of your mouth. He said, I made you to be a praise. So in your flesh, I need you to give out this good news. Okay? All right. 2 Thessalonians 2:14 says, to this he called you through our basar, right? So that you may obtain the esteem of, what does it say? No. Adonenu Yahushua HaMashiach. Our, I do not, remember, new is our, right? Okay. Our master, our sovereign, Yahushua, the Messiah. Okay. Don't worry, we're going to get more Hebrew in just a minute. All right. We're almost there. 2 stages. Romans 3:23 says, now, and we're going to, I'll just go over the 2 stages. It says, for all have sinned and fall short of Kabo Elohim, of the esteem of Elohim, and are justified. What's that word there? Bechasdo. What does bechasdo mean? All right, remember, there's a prefix on there, the be, in. The vav at the end means his, and then the root right there in the center. By his favor. That's how you say by his favor or in his favor. Okay? As a gift through the redemption. Now it says what's the next part? It says She ba Mashiach Yahusha. What is She ba Mashiach? She means that. That is, ba is in the Mashiach. See, double prefix. Okay?
All right.
Yahusha, right?
No. Because the son is Mashiach, but you're saying,
So some words you see, but the other parts you miss. So that's what I said when we start the Hebrew class, you're gonna be able to recognize certain things. And we'll go over a couple more examples of what we're gonna be doing in the class. But I figure I'll use this since who's next? Oh, you up next week? Okay, hallelujah. All right. 1:7 says, in him we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of our trespasses according to the riches of his favor, giving thanks to the Father who has qualified you to share in the inheritance of the saints in light. He has delivered us from the domain of darkness and transformed us to the kingdom of his beloved Son, in whom we have redemption, the forgiveness of sin. Okay, now 8:23. It says, for we know that the whole creation has been growing together in the pains of childbirth until now. And not only the creation, but we ourselves who have the first fruit of, okay, so remember the first fruit, Mashiach had the first fruit. He's the first fruit resurrection. We have the first fruit, which is the Spirit, because it has fruit. And then we're going to be resurrected as the first fruit. Everyone start to see how these fruits and stuff go together? Okay. You got to be part of this now. He says, grown and inward as we wait eagerly for the adoption of sons and the redemption of our bodies. 30 says, and do not grieve. What's the sentence say? Okay. Et ruach hakodesh Elohim, right? So don't grieve Elohim. Et is the direct pointing to the direct object of the ruach or the set apart spirit, right? By whom you were sealed for the day of redemption. Okay, so again, this seal is for whose redemption? There you go. So if you have that seal in you, when that day comes, when that old body drops off, you won't totally drop off. You know what I'm saying? That thing that got to go back to the dirt, when that thing goes to the dirt, what's left, once you crack that shell open, if you have the seal, you can further go in a place where you want to go. If you don't have that seal, you'll go to a place you wish you had the seal. Okay? It will be there forever. You'll be thinking about that thing for a long, long time. All right, so what does the first fruit do? Okay, so Romans 8:23 says, and not only the creation, but we ourselves who have the first fruit of Haruach groan inwardly as we wait eagerly adoption of sons, the redemption of our bodies, which was from the last slide onto this one, so that you can see this. The context points to the production of first fruits in two ways. Now, it's going to sound a little confusing for those that may not catch it. Produced by the Ruach, or first fruits from the Ruach. One is by, one is from. Anyone see the difference? Or does it sound like the same for everybody? Okay, no worries. Let's see. We'll look at it right now. Romans 8:5 says, for they that are after habasara, after the flesh, do mind the things, and it says of the flesh, but in the Hebrew it says lebasar, things towards the flesh. You're looking for things that's toward, you're going to the flesh. All right? But they that are after haruach, the things towards the ruach. So you're going, it's possessive, right? So you're doing things that you desire to do things, right, for the ruach. So in other words, if I want to go after the flesh, I'm going to do things towards the flesh. I'm going to do things for the ruach. I'm going to do things towards the ruach, towards the spirit. All right. Verse 6 says, for to be carnally, and that's the same word for flesh, carnally, habasar, minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Because the carnal mind is enmity against Elohim, listen to what happens, for it is not subject, le Torah Elohim, neither indeed can be. What do you mean, le Torah Elohim? To or for the Torah of the instructions of Elohim. So if you're carnal, if you're in the flesh, you're not going to do the Father's Torah. You're not leaning towards the Torah. It makes no sense to you. Or you don't want it because it restricts what you want to do. Or let me rephrase it, what the flesh, what the basar wants to do, because you're leaning towards your own flesh. All right. 8 says, so then they that are labasar cannot please Elohim. Those that are looking towards the flesh or being fleshly cannot please Elohim. But you are not labasar, but leruach. If so, be that Ruach Elohim dwells in you. Now, if any man have not Ruach HaMashiach, he is none of his. Okay? It's the spirit of the Mashiach, you're none of his. And if HaMashiach, if the Messiah be in you, the body is dead because of sin, but the Ruach, or the spirit, HaRuach, is life because of righteousness. But if the Ruach of him that raised up Yahusha from the dead dwells in you, he that is raised up Mashiach from the dead shall also quicken your mortal body by Rucho, okay, by his spirit or his Ruach that dwells in you. So now think about this here. This spirit that raised the Mashiach is going to be the same spirit that raises you. Same spirit that is giving you the fruit that you're supposed to be walking in. The same spirit that gave the Mashiach to teach and heal and do it. It's the same spirit. You notice how much work the Ruach has to do? So you now understand this blasphemy of the Ruach is not a good thing, right? Oh, you said Kanisha had a question? Okay.
So, yeah, like the scripture that comes to mind when I'm listening to you read this is when Matthew, when the Messiah, he says, away from you, I knew you not. This is, it kind of, is this what's going to like be the apparent thing that separates, because some that are going, this, haven't you haven't I prophesied in your name? Haven't I cast out demons in your name? And then he'll say, away from me, I never knew you. Is it because of this seal, because of this thing that we're to be operating in?
Right. So in Matthew's chapter 7, 21 through 23, where you're referring to, if you don't have this seal, you can say you've done all of these things, but he says, depart from me, you, right? He says, I don't know you, depart, you that work iniquity, right? So I don't know you because you're not sealed, you're not marked, right? When they come, they're looking for someone that's marked or sealed, has the sign on them. If you don't have it, I don't know. You can do all the nice things. Because somebody says, well, we do some wonderful things, and I like to give and help. And I know some atheists that do that. I know some people and I used to know some people in Wicca that did that stuff. I know a lot of people that do a lot of nice things. But they had what in them? wickedness, iniquity. So that's why I don't know. You don't have the Father's seal. Okay.
Yeah. I was just looking at that. I said he's going to recognize his Father's seal. He's going to recognize his Ruach. I can recognize it because I can see me. It's a mirror of myself. Oh, yeah, that's me. Come on in. That's me. Come on in. Do you look like Shiach? Do you like his son? Oh, it's me. Come on, it's a reflection of himself.
Not negating that the blood that washed everything away, because it's always a blood covenant if you see from one side of the book to the other. All right. Larry you had a question, Lyra?
Yes, I wanted to know, does that same thing constitute for those who become a Torah to themselves? Like, would they fall into that same category of the Father not knowing them?
No. For those that don't know him, remember, everybody's going to know him from the least to the greatest. So let's just say, remember, it says that those that don't know be hit with few stripes, right? Those that do know be hit with many stripes. So we view this as he's a just or righteous creator. So if I never, in other words, just like saying, if I never knew exactly who he was, is he going to throw me in hell, for an example? No. All right. So Romans 8:5-11 is the fruit produced from the Ruach. That is the second stage of the Ruach. Okay. Is everyone with me so far with this here? You're going to see the first stage now. Here's the first stage, unity produced by Yahuah. This is the part we are supposed to be doing right now. Okay. So as you guys see, that Hebrew get a little longer, but we'll tackle it together. I, therefore, a prisoner for Ha'adon, or the master, urge you to walk in a manner worthy of calling to which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness and patience, and bearing with one another in love, eager to maintain the unity of Haruach in the bond of peace. Verse 4. Anyone want to take a stab at it? Okay, so you'll need a mic. So, Hine guf akad veruach akat. Hine means behold, right? Guf, you already know what it means body, but akad, so it's one body. Veruach akat. Now, the reason why it's not akad, because ruach is feminine, so it takes on the feminine form. So it's and one spirit. All right. Next one, you're going to do all of verse 5. Adonakad, Emunah akat, Tabila akat. Now, Adon akat, one master, one faith, right? Emunah means faith. Akat is in its feminine form because it's feminine now. So one faith, and Tabila akat, one immersion. Okay, and then part says El va'av akad, or El va'av, or ab akad. Okay, so one, remember that's going to, when you translate to the English, one El and Father of all, who is over all and through all and in all. Okay, don't worry. As I said, we're going to have fun when we start doing this for Hebrew class. So according to first fruits, would it be the beginning? I said, accordingly, first fruits would be the beginning fruit of the new creation produced by Haruach, the expression itself in the believer. The dominant image is that of offering their first fruit of crops to signify that the remainder of the harvest belongs to Elohim. So these fruits, as I do my closing a little bit, these fruits is letting you know that at the end of the day, there's a harvest coming. And we need to see how much fruit you produce. Now, you got a fruit of the Spirit. He's about to do all this fruit stuff happening to you in your life. And he's doing all this for a harvest. That's why the feast days are designed for you to understand how a harvest works. Okay? All right. 2 Thessalonians 2:13. But we ought always to give thanks to Elohim for you, brothers, beloved by Yahuah, because Elohim chose you as the first fruits to be saved through sanctification by the Ruach and belief in the truth. Now, I'll move this up a little bit. So see how Yahuah is making two things one here, okay? Purification is by the Spirit. Okay. And belief in the truth. You got to have both. Okay. You've made yourself ready. All right, I'll speed up for the sake of time here. All right. So the unity produced by the Spirit. Romans 11:16 says, for if the first fruit be Kodesh, or set apart, the lump is also Kodesh. And if the root be Kodesh, so are the branches. Romans 11:17 says, and some of the branches be broken off, and you being a wild olive tree were grafted in among them, and with them partake of the root and fatness of the olive tree. Now, we already did a lot of teachings on Romans, but just understanding for right now, the first fruit is set apart, right? And then we think about the branches, and we're going to read in John in a minute. Think about if we understand how branches work. Mashiach said he's the vine, we're the branches. So if we are in alignment with the vine and with the branch, if you will, we won't be broken off, right? And everything that he had the Spirit, the way he walked, the way he talked, all these things he gave us as an example to do. Is everyone with me so far? John 15:2 says, every branch in me that bears not fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he purges it, that it may bring forth more fruit. Now you are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. Abide in me, and I in you, and the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abides in the vine. No more can you, except you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. He that abides in me, and I in him, the same brings forth much fruit. For without me you can do nothing. If a man abides not in me, he is cast forth as a branch and is withered, and the men gathered them and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. If you abide in me, and my word abides in you, you shall ask what you will, and it shall be done unto you. Herein is my Father as esteem, or kabod, that you bear much fruit, so shall you be. Anyone want to help me out? Okay. Li le tamadim. Okay, so le to me, possession to me, you'll be for me, or to me for talmidim, or for disciples. If you do all these things that he's telling us to do. Okay. All right. 1 Corinthians 15:22-23, for as Adam all die, even so ba Mashiach, or in the Mashiach, shall all be made alive. But every man in his own order, right? HaMashiach, the first fruit, afterwards that are belongs to La Mashiach, or to Mashiach, as for his coming, which we already read. All right. Fruit of the Spirit. I'm going to make this brief. All right. So these fruits are grounded in the Tanakh. Until the Ruach be poured upon us from on high, and the wilderness be a fruitful field, and the fruitful field be counted for a forest. And it's just my notes I put in what a garden this will be, because I wanted to really go over the big picture of how this garden is going to be laid out in the latter days, but I knew I wouldn't have time, so we'll keep going. Then judgment shall dwell in the midbar, and righteousness remains ba Carmel, okay, fruitful field. And the work of righteousness shall be peace, and the effect of righteousness, quietness, and assurance forever. Joel 2:28 says, and it shall come to pass afterwards that I will pour out my Ruach upon all flesh. Your sons, your daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions. Anyone want to work on this one here? Joel 2:29. Okay. It was head went down. Okay. V'gam all ha avadim v'all ha mishpachot. Now, upon right, and also upon servants and upon handmaidens. You'll see bond servants, but it's in the feminine form, so that's why you'll see it as bond women and things like that. In those days will I pour out my Ruach, and I will show wonders. How will I show those wonders? Bashamayim uba'aretz, in the heavens and in the earth. Okay, great. Good and fire and pillars of smoke. Man, I can tell Hebrew gonna hurt every. They're like, listen, can we get that 30 minutes out the way, and I'll do the study on my own. I got it. All right.
I had time to raise my hand.
Oh, it's all good. I understand. The sun shall, if you're next to the computer, all you can do is hit the button. All right. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of Yahuwah come. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of Yahuwah shall be delivered. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as Yahuwah has said, and in the remnant whom Yahuwah shall call. Galatians 5:2. This is very brief. That I want just to share just the picture between this here, the first fruits, and where this is located. Okay. All right. So Galatians 5:22 says, "But the fruit of the Ruach or the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience." Right. But look at this word here for patience. Orech Ruach. This is right here is you got to have this is the fruit of spirit is love, joy, peace, and the spirit of patience. Some of us think we have patience, but we might have the spirit of patience. I'm gonna hold my tongue. I'm not gonna say nothing. So in other words, we're wrestling within ourselves. But if you have the spirit of patience, it's not gonna affect you. You be like, it's okay. All right, we'll come back to it later on. Oh, they can get as angry as they like. You're like, hey, listen, I don't want to argue with you. You're fine. Yeah, you go. Okay, because another thing I know you want to give me a piece of your mind. It's. I mean, if that's what's going to make you all right, go ahead. But the other side, you can tell if you have that spirit versus, if you just really knew. All right, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. Go ahead. What you want to say? No, I'm not going to say nothing. So that patience is different from the Ruach patience. Okay. So anyway, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against these are such no law. And they that are Mashiachs have crucified the flesh with the affection of lust. If we live in Haruach or in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. And then Isaiah 57:16 through 21 says, I will not take vengeance on you forever, neither will I always anger with you. For my Ruach shall go forth from me, and I have created all breath. On account of sin, for a little while, I grieve him and smote him and turned away my face from him. And he was grieved, and he went on sorrowful in his ways. I have seen his ways and healed him and comforted him and given him the true comfort, peace upon peace to them that are far off and to them that are nigh. And Yahuwah has said, will heal them, but the unrighteous shall be tossed as troubled waves and shall not be able to rest. There is no joy to the wicked, saith Yahuwah. Now, I just want to show you something here in the Greek. All right, so in the Greek here is the old Greek. During this time was during the time of the before the Mashiach come into the flesh. There were a couple of Greek copies. There's an old Greek and there's a Lex and a Septuagint one. But anyway, just for the time's sake here, it says this: you'll see the Spirit will go out forth from him and will create and produce spiritual fruit. This is what the Greek says. It will produce spiritual fruit. And in the righteous, the context of this fruit is directly construed to be the fruit of peace, verse 19, and by the product of patience in verse 15, and joy in verse 21. Okay, so the only two places in the entire scripture tradition of Tanakh and of the Habrit HaKadashah, where commonly called the New Testament, where the combination of the 5 Greek words for spirit, fruit, peace, patience, and joy occurs right here in Isaiah 57:15 through 19, goes with Galatians 5:22. Okay. Right, the old Greek. Right, when you compare the old Greek Septuagint with Galatians 5, you'll see all 5 of them side by side, are lined up together. No, you won't see that in Masoretic text. It's not going to happen. All right, so here's my closing thoughts. I want to read this here. So I think it's 2 slides and we'll close. Just something to think about this tree of life. All right. So let me move this up here a little bit. All right, so it says, and those men took me from there, and they brought me up to the 3rd heaven and set me down there. Then I looked downward, and I saw Gan Eden, and it's translated as paradise from the Greek version here, but Gan Eden, and that place is conceivably pleasant. And I saw the trees in full flower, and their fruits were ripe and pleasant smelling, with very food and yield and giving off profusely a pleasant fragrance. And in the midst of them was what? Eitz HaChaim, right? The tree of life. At that place where Yahuah takes a rest when he goes into Gan Eden, or the Garden of Eden, and that tree is indescribable for the pleasantness and the fine fragrance, and more beautiful than any other created thing that exists. And from every direction, it has an appearance. Listen to the appearance of it, of that fruit now. The appearance which is gold looking and crimson and with the form of fire. They said that's what that fruit looks like on the tree of life. And it covers the whole of Gan Eden, and it has something of every orchid tree and of every fruit, and its root is in Gan Eden at the exit that leads to the earth. And Gan Eden is in between the corruptible and the incorruptible. And the streams comes forth one, a source of honey and milk, and a source which produces oil and wine, and it is divided into 4 parts, and they go around with a quiet movement. And I was going to do a drawing all this, but I knew, but I didn't want to mess up any time. All right. And they come out into Gan Eden between the corruptible and the incorruptible, and from there they pass along the divide into 40 parts. And there is none unfruitful tree there. And every tree is well fruited, and every place is blessed. Now, just like this place is, every tree has a fruit, right? It's very fruitful there. And if we're supposed to be in there, that must mean we must have been producing. Okay, so you can see why there's a lot of comparison between the garden and you being a tree of righteousness going into the garden. All right, anyway. And there are 300 Malachim, very bright, who look after Gan Eden, and with never ceasing voice and pleasant singing. They worship Yahuah every day and an hour. And I said, how very pleasant is this place? And those men said to me, and it breaks off from there, but so you're going to be in there singing. Now, I know some of us don't like singing in here, but you're going to be, if you're going to be in that garden, you better have a little tap to your step. You ain't going to be over there. Yeah, I'll be right back, y'all. He's like, oh, yeah. Boom, close the door. All right, we'll keep going. All right, so 23:18. From the mountains and hills, they go around and fall upon seas and rivers. From sea and rivers, they go around and fall upon the towns and the cities. And from down the cities, they go around and fall upon the garden. And from the garden, they go around and fall on Eden. Everyone remember this story, right? Great. So I can keep going. Closing thoughts. This is where I want to get to here. All right. So closing out with the Apocalypse of Elijah or Eliyahu. It says, then Gabriel and Uriel will become a pillar of light, leading them. Anyone want to try that? Okay. Admat HaKodesh, right? What does that mean? Admat HaKodesh. Earth, okay. The set apart earth or land, okay. It will be granted to them to eat from Eitz HaChaim, or the tree of life. They will wear white garments, and Malachim will watch over them. They will not thirst, nor will the son of lawlessness be able to prevail over them. Okay, so Yahuah is building trees. This is just my commentary. Yahuah is building trees. He is regrowing and preparing his garden. These trees are his people. They are to produce fruit, which produce more fruit, or trees, fruit trees, if you will. These trees will not only fill the promised land, but the world. That is the ultimate goal for the end. So here's the things I want you guys to consider. Notice in the lesson, you hear a lot about the following: his spirit, which is the dwelling within his people, fruit of the spirit, the power and authority of the spirit, cleansing, purging, forgiving, repentance, restoration and redemption, his garden, which consists of fruit, branches, and trees, removing all things that are lawless. Okay, the duties of the servant and what he passes down to his talmidim, the process of raising his people, and we talked about the different stages of them. Okay, so our fruit must match his fruit. In order to produce good fruit for the upcoming harvest, we have to have the right seed. Okay, any questions?
Shalom, Aki.
Shalom.
So I was trying to find out, how can one blaspheme the Ruach?
Okay, so, woo. All right. So blasphemy of the Ruach is talking bad or evil against the Ruach. So in layman's terms, that's what blasphemy. If you know the definition of blasphemy, it's just literally someone that really speaks evil, wicked of the Father's Spirit. It can't do this. It's not that. It's not that. Oh, you start making all kinds of negative thoughts about it. It's like you're rejecting His Spirit, and not only you rejecting it, but you're talking bad about it. Because remember, it comes. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, Kanisha, and then Yara.
Thank you, Moreh. Okay, so just to piggyback, or not piggyback, to add on to what the said before about blaspheming the Ruach, that be considered something that the Pharisees did when they said you cast out demons not by the Father Spirit. So like seeing people doing a work and saying that's not the Spirit, that's not considered. Is that considered blaspheming the?
Okay, no, that's just someone that don't understand versus someone that knows how the Spirit works and you reject it. And not only you reject it, you have bad things to say about it. So think about, for example, I hate to use them in this context, but let's just say, for example, those that are Satan worshipers. I don't know if you ever talk to some of them and you say, I believe I have the Father's Spirit, and they talk so bad about that Spirit. What I'm saying is you talk about it in a way that is wicked. That's unforgivable. Okay, Dr. Liara, didn't you?
I don't think this is really a question, but as you were reading about, you were giving the description about the garden, and it spoke about like the fire and the fruit that is there. And as you were reading, what came to my mind was Moshe when he came down off the mount, and it said that his face like shone, and he had to wear the veil. So I was just thinking, like, is it possible that that happened because he was eating from the tree, not literal food, but like the fruit?
Oh, okay. No, what that is he was in the presence of the Most High. So by being in the presence alone, it's going to cause you to have this light. We kind of went over that in one of the Bereshit series when we did the Torah portion. And basically what happened, same thing with Adam. They were saying that Adam, remember, when I'm not sure if you saw the video or not, but we were sharing how when it says Adam was naked, right? But the reality of it, like in the Targum and some other places, say he really wasn't naked because he was in the presence of the Most High. That light covered his body. And the minute he sinned, it removed that light, and now he sees that he's naked. No difference in Moses going up when he's in his presence of the Most High, then that he gets that glow of the presence of the Most High, and he comes down.
Hold on.
You have a YouTube
I was
question.
gonna say, can an example of blaspheming the Ruach be when people say that Mashiach didn't come from, like they say he came from like Joseph, like he was begotten by Joseph?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
It said that.
Well, I know what he's saying, but no, that's not blasphemy of the Ruach.
Because when the scriptures say to Miriam that the Ruach, the Spirit will come over her and overtake her, if somebody said that doesn't happen, is that not blasphemy?
Mm-mm.
Okay, why not?
Because blasphemy is, first of all, remember what it says. Mashiach says you can blaspheme him if you want. But blasphemy of the Ruach is unforgivable. So what you were sharing earlier was if they say he didn't, okay, that's not blasphemy of the Ruach. It has to be specifically blasphemy of the Spirit. But in blasphemy of the Spirit, it has to be, if someone's sitting there talking something they don't know or they don't understand, that's something different than someone that they do know. And they blatantly say that that thing ain't going to get you nowhere. That thing is nothing. It's garbage. In other words, you're blaspheming literally the Spirit of the Ruach.
Usually the blasphemy of the Ruach will happen to someone who has actually partaken of his Ruach already. You were a part of him. You've experienced the Ruach. Like Hebrews says over here, it says,
Better not to know.
it is impossible to restore again to repentance those who have once been enlightened and have tasted the heavenly gifts and have shared in the Ruach HaKodesh and have tasted the goodness of his word, the word of Elohim, and the power of the age to come. So this person has had an experience with the Ruach, and then for them to just reject what had happened, it's impossible for them to be restored.
Because what they would do is, like I say, if they, could you imagine those that talk bad about it, period? Even if, like you said, those that know about it, then they fall away. Oh, he's taking too long. Oh, I done heard my great grandparent. All of them that said all this, man, all this stuff is fiction. All this stuff don't even make. Now I'm telling you, you're gonna get yourself up, and then you start saying, in this spirit, how you know this is not? They go start getting really bad by talking about the spirit itself. Name callings. It's not doing to do this, not because it's designed to seal you. So how can it seal you? You talking the very thing you that is supposed to seal, you're grieving it. Okay, Toria.
Yeah. Is there any record of anyone that's actually done it, like in the Bible at all, that actually blasphemed the Holy Spirit? Or Ruach HaKodesh, excuse me.
No, you're not gonna find anywhere it says, and he blasphemed the Ruach. No, you're not gonna find that. Okay, you said someone online?
Yeah, somebody on YouTube. Moreh, is this speaking in untranslatable tongues from Haruach?
He's talking about speaking in tongues.
So
Okay,
I guess those, yeah, like how
all
they
right.
do in
So,
church, I guess.
Okay, so if you're talking about tongues, well, the word unknown is italicized. So in all of them, it's all italicized. So it's not an unknown tongue. It's a language. And so if that's what they're asking, I'm saying, yeah, there are languages that you may not know. You need the interpretation of. I can speak in Hebrew, and then someone, I don't know what you said, but it's a tongue. It's a language. But it may be technically unknown to that person, but I can interpret or translate.
Oh yeah, but he said untranslatable.
Oh, you talking about the
Yeah. So
you talking about like
I think
like
he's asking.
They keep talking about come.
You talking about those that just let their mouth loose?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if there's nothing one could really. So if you think about how people, I know a lot of people that I used to know a lot of people that even in the walk, I knew some that they get so excited that they just start saying things and let their emotions take over. That's not a tongue. If that's what he's referring to, yeah. But it'd definitely be untranslatable for sure. If,
Anytime you say hallelujah, you're speaking in the language.
That was it? Okay. Well, if that's it, we'll go ahead and close it out.